Have you ever done everything right? The supplements, the sleep hygiene, the meditation app, and still felt scattered, wired, and utterly depleted all at once? Like your nervous system was running on fumes no matter what you tried? That gap between effort and results has a name in Ayurveda. And in this final week of our map phase of this 12-week series, we are going to explore it fully because you cannot stress manage your way out of what we're about to describe. I'm Lynn DeBoer Johnson, and this is week 6 of Rewire to Restore. Stay with me. This one is going to change how you see everything. So welcome to week 6, and welcome to the final week of our map phase. We've been building something significant over these 6 weeks. We started by understanding the landscape of nervous system exhaustion. We explored the caretaker's pattern and the hormone nervous system loop. We looked at your natal chart through the lens of medical astrology, and last week we went deep into traditional Chinese medicine, Shen, Qi, and the heart-kidney axis. Today we close the map phase with perhaps the most complete lens of all, Ayurveda's ancient framework for what is happening in an exhausted, dysregulated nervous system, and what true restoration actually requires. This isn't a supplementary perspective. This is a 5,000-year-old science that has always understood what modern medicine is only beginning to map. So here's our terrain for today. First, we'll meet Vata, the dosha that governs the nervous system, and understand what happens when it goes out of balance. Then we'll explore Ojas, the most important substance you've probably never heard of, and why rebuilding it is your actual antidote to the exhaustion. We'll look at Dinacharya, the Ayurvedic art of daily rhythm as medicine. And we'll close with how your specific pattern connects to your Vata imbalance, and what the Energy Alchemy Quiz reveals about your unique restoration path. This is the map phase in full. Let's complete it. Ayurveda, from the Sanskrit for life and knowledge, is the world's oldest comprehensive health system, originating in India over 5,000 years ago and still practiced clinically today. It is the sister science of yoga, and it operates from a single premise, that the human being is not separate from nature. We are nature. In Ayurveda, everything, every food, every season, every emotion, every time of day carries a quality. And health is not the absence of disease. It is the presence of balance, balance between our inner nature and the world we live in. When that balance is disturbed by chronic stress, overwork, poor sleep, emotional labor, the relentless pace of modern life, when that balance is disturbed, disease begins. Not at the level of diagnosis, but long before, in the quality of your energy, your digestion, your mood, your sleep, your sense of aliveness. Ayurveda doesn't wait for disease. It reads the whispers. And for millions of exhausted women, those whispers have a very specific signature. Ayurveda organizes all of nature into three fundamental forces called doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Each is a combination of elements. Each governs specific functions in the body and mind. And each of us carries a unique combination of all three. This is our constitution. It's called Prakriti, and this was set at birth. Vata is air and ether. It governs movement, the movement of nerve impulses, thoughts, breath, circulation. It is creative, quick, expansive. When balanced, Vata types are visionary, adaptable, and energetic. Pitta is fire and water. It governs transformation. This is digestion, metabolism, hormonal conversion, and the sharp intelligence that drives us. When balanced, Pitta types are focused, driven, and are warm leaders. Kapha is earth and water. It governs structure, the tissues, the lubrication, the calm stability that holds everything together. When balanced, Kapha types are nurturing, enduring, and deeply reliable. Most of us are a combination. And here is what matters most today. Every dosha can fall out of balance. And when Vata, the nervous system dosha, goes into excess, we get the exact symptom, this picture that brings women to my work. Excess Vata has a very specific quality in Ayurveda. It is described as dry, light, mobile, cold, irregular, and rough. And when you apply those qualities to the nervous system and the lived experience of a woman in chronic depletion, the language becomes startlingly accurate. Too much air and space, not enough grounding. Here is the Vata out of balance picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your mind won't stop. Racing thoughts, a loop of what ifs, waking at 2 or 3 a.m. with a brain that immediately starts listing everything undone. That's Vata, movement without rest. Your digestion is irregular. One day constipation, the next loose. Bloating, gas, a gut that can't decide what it wants. That's Vata, erratic movement in the digestive tract. Your joints pop and crack. Your skin is dry no matter how much water you drink. Your hair is thinning or breaking. That's Vata, the dryness quality depleting your tissues. You feel wired but exhausted simultaneously, like an engine that can't turn off but has no fuel. That's Vata, motion without nourishment. And you are cold, always cold, especially your hands and feet, while feeling internally anxious. That's Vata, compromised circulation meeting a hyperactive nervous system. You feel ungrounded, scattered, like you're moving through your day a half step outside your body, like you keep starting things but you can't finish them. That's Vata, too much air, not enough earth. In Ayurveda, this is not anxiety. It is not burnout in the modern sense. It is Vata out of balance. And it has a specific, systematic, beautiful antidote. Before we get to the antidote, I want you to understand how Vata becomes excess, because most of us are actively, unknowingly doing most of these things every single day. An irregular routine, eating at different times, sleeping at different times, no consistent rhythm in the day. Vata thrives on routine. Modern life destroys it. Chronic multitasking and overstimulation. The nervous system is constantly asked to move faster than it can recover. Vata accumulates with every uncompleted rest cycle. Excessive screen time, especially in the evening, the blue light and stimulation are Vata aggravating. The nervous system doesn't get the wind down signal it needs. Raw, cold, or dry foods. These are smoothies, salads, crackers, cold water. These increase the Vata qualities in your gut and your tissues. The depleted woman needs warmth and oil. Chronic worry, fear, and anxiety, the emotional states of excess Vata. They feed themselves. The worried mind creates more Vata. More Vata creates more worry. Overwork and caregiving without reciprocal nourishment. Giving out more life force than comes in. This is the somatic store and hormonal hurricane pattern in Ayurvedic language. And finally, travel, especially flying. Vata is air. Frequent flying is one of the fastest ways to derange Vata in the body. Look at this list. How many of these are describing your ordinary week? In Ayurveda, the nervous system is primarily a Vata domain, the movement of electrical impulses through neural pathways. That is Vata in motion. The speed of thought, Vata. The sensitivity to sensation, Vata. The regulation of autonomic function, Vata. When we look at what modern science calls the autonomic nervous system, this is the sympathetic fight or flight system and the parasympathetic rest and digest system. So when we look at the autonomic nervous system, Ayurveda would say that a Vata imbalance creates chronic sympathetic dominance. That's chronic fight or flight. Too much activation, not enough recovery. This maps perfectly onto what we explored in week 1, the physiology of chronic stress and nervous system depletion, and what we saw in weeks 4 and 5 through medical astrology and traditional Chinese medicine. Vata imbalance disrupts every system it touches because the nervous system governs every system. The modern lens says dysregulated HPA axis, elevated cortisol, compromised vagal tone. The Ayurvedic lens says Vata out of balance, Ojas depleted. They are describing the same body, and together they offer us the most complete map I know. This is the concept I want you to carry with you from today. This is the one that changes things. Ojas. In Sanskrit, Ojas means vigor or vitality, but that translation just doesn't capture it. Ojas is the refined essence of all 7 bodily tissues in Ayurveda. It is what remains when your body has perfectly processed food, experience, emotion, and rest. It is the final distillation of a well-nourished life. Think of it this way. You eat food, your body digests it. The nutrients nourish your plasma, then your blood, then your muscle, then your fat, then your bone, then your nerve tissue, then your reproductive tissue. At each stage, if digestion is strong and you have enough rest, a fine essence is produced. Ojas is the essence of all of it, the master vitality substance. In modern language, Ojas correlates with what I call life force, that felt sense of aliveness, resilience, and quiet vitality. It also maps onto the body's capacity for immune function, hormonal balance, and nervous system resilience. Researchers have begun correlating Ojas with markers of cellular vitality, immune competence, and what we now call heart rate variability, the gold standard measure of nervous system health. When Ojas is abundant, your skin glows, your eyes are bright, you sleep deeply and wake rested. You have genuine enthusiasm for life. You can handle stress without being destroyed by it. You feel, as Ayurveda says, sattvic, clear, calm, luminous. When Ojas is depleted, which it is in nearly every chronically exhausted woman I work with, you feel the opposite. Dull, heavy, fragile, easy to overwhelm, prone to every passing virus, hollow in the chest, going through the motions of a life that should feel fuller. This is not depression. This is not laziness. This is Ojas depletion. And it is the direct result of years of giving more than you received. Ayurveda is very specific about what depletes Ojas. And when I read this list to women in my program, the room goes quiet because they recognize every single item. Chronic physical exertion. This is pushing through when the body signals rest. Every time you override your fatigue, you spend a little Ojas. Chronic emotional labor. Absorbing others' pain, carrying others' anxiety, managing others' emotions at the expense of your own inner stillness. This is Ojas-draining work, and it is invisible, unpaid, and unending for most of the women in my community. Fasting and severe dietary restriction. The culture that tells you that suffering is the path to health, restriction depletes the tissues. Depleted tissues cannot produce Ojas. Excessive sexual energy expenditure. And I offer this not as a moral statement, but as a physiological one. In Ayurveda, reproductive tissue is closely linked to Ojas production. Hormonal dysregulation, particularly the estrogen-progesterone imbalances of perimenopause, are viewed partly through this lens. Grief and loss. Sustained grief in Ayurveda directly depletes Ojas. The longing, the shock, the ongoing ache of loss costs the body vitality. chronic illness and chronic pain, the body depletes Ojas in its attempt to maintain homeostasis under persistent threat. And perhaps most powerfully, the absence of joy, beauty, pleasure, and meaning. Ojas is nourished by these things. A life that has systematically eliminated delight because there's no time, because you've put yourself last, is a life that cannot rebuild its vital essence. Here is the most important thing I want you to know. Ojas can be rebuilt. This is not a permanent condition. It is a practice. And here is what that practice looks like in Ayurveda. First, nourishment over restriction. Warm, cooked, oily, spiced foods are the foundation. Think ghee, sesame oil, whole milk or warm nut milks, cooked root vegetables, soups, stews, dates, almonds soaked overnight. These are Ojas building foods. They are also the exact opposite of what diet culture tells you to eat. Second, genuine rest, not just sleep. Ayurveda distinguishes between rest that builds Ojas, the kind where you lie down in the afternoon, where you sit without a screen, where you allow yourself to be genuinely unproductive. There's a difference between that and sleep that is disturbed and anxious. Only the former rebuilds Ojas. Third, Abhyanga, the daily self-oil massage. Warm sesame or Brahmi oil applied to the body before bathing. This is one of the most profoundly Vata pacifying practices in all of Ayurveda. It nourishes the skin, calms the nervous system, grounds the scattered energy of excess Vata, and directly supports Ojas production. 5 to 15 minutes every day if possible. Fourth, sensory nourishment. Beauty, music, nature, the smell of good food, time with people who genuinely love you. Ayurveda teaches that the sense organs are direct channels to Ojas. What enters through your eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue either builds or depletes your vital essence. This is not indulgence, this is medicine. Fifth, ashwagandha and shatavari. These are the two most important rasayana herbs in Ayurveda for women recovering from depletion. Ashwagandha builds Ojas, supports the adrenals, and directly calms Vata. Shatavari is the premier female tonic. It nourishes the reproductive tissues, the hormonal axis, and the nervous system simultaneously. They work best as preparations in warm milk or ghee, not as isolated capsules, though capsules are better than nothing. The most powerful thing I can give you from Ayurveda for nervous system restoration isn't a supplement, it's a structure. It's called Dinacharya, the daily routine, and it is Ayurveda's greatest therapeutic tool for Vata imbalance. Why? Because Vata is governed by irregularity. Its opposite is rhythm. When you impose a consistent, loving rhythm on your days, rising about the same time, eating at about the same times, sleeping at about the same time. You give the Vata nervous system what it craves above all else: predictability, safety, the felt sense that this body is being cared for. A basic Dinacharya for nervous system restoration looks like this. Rise before 6 a.m., ideally at sunrise. The 2 to 6 a.m. period is Vata time. If you sleep through the transition, you often wake groggy. The 6 to 10 a.m. Kapha period offers a natural earthiness and steadiness, perfect for beginning the day. Oil the body, 5 to 10 minutes of warm sesame oil, self-massaging before showering. This is not optional. This is the single most grounding nervous system practice I know. Eat your largest meal at midday. When digestive fire, Agni, is strongest. A warm, cooked, nourishing lunch. This is not how most of us eat, and it is medicine. Sunset wind down. Begin dimming lights, reducing stimulation, and eating a light early dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before sleep. This aligns with what neuroscience calls sleep hygiene, but it's grounded in the Ayurvedic understanding that the evening hours are Kapha and Pitta time, requiring specific tending. And sleep by 10 p.m. before the Pitta surge that happens between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. If you're awake at 10 p.m., you'll often hit a second wind. That second wind is Pitta, and riding it to midnight costs Ojas. You don't have to implement all of this overnight. You don't have to be perfect. But pick one anchor, maybe the oil massage or the consistent wake time or the midday meal, and make it yours. One thread of Dinacharya can begin to rewire the entire rhythm. I want to acknowledge something for those of you who follow the cosmic dimension of this work. In medical astrology, Saturn is the planet of structure, discipline, and the long game. And it governs the bones, the skin, and the chronicity of conditions. Saturn in Pisces, where it has been transiting, dissolves the hard edges of our structures. It asks what routines can hold when the ground is fluid, what rhythms are true versus which ones were simply inherited. The Dinacharya conversation is deeply Saturnian. Saturn doesn't ask you to do more. It asks you to do the same things, the right things for you, with devotion and continuity. The oil massage every day, not once a week or so. The consistent bedtime, not just when you feel like it. Saturn rewards the practitioner. And Vata, with its planetary ruler Rahu and its connection to Mercury and Saturn in certain traditions, is particularly sensitized right now. The scattered feeling, the inability to land, the sense of moving through days without inhabiting them. This is the cosmic amplification of what we're addressing. The antidote is the same cosmically as it is Ayurvedically. Ground, nourish, rhythm, root. I want to close by briefly mapping our 4 exhaustion patterns onto the Vata and Ojas conversation, because your pattern shapes how Vata imbalance expresses in your specific body. If you're a somatic store, your Vata imbalance lives in the physical tissues, in the dry skin, the tight muscles, the aching joints, the gut that won't regulate. Abhyanga and warm, nourishing food are your most direct medicine. Your Ojas depletion shows up as physical fragility. If you're a hormonal hurricane, your Vata imbalance is running the HPA axis, driving the cortisol peaks and crashes, the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the estrogen-progesterone dysregulation. Ashwagandha, shatavari, and consistent daily rhythm are your primary tools. Your Ojas depletion shows up as hormonal chaos. If you are a transitional transformer, your Vata imbalance is most visible in the mind and identity. The racing thoughts, the difficulty landing anywhere, the exhaustion that comes from a nervous system navigating profound change without enough ground beneath it. Meditation, abhyanga, and genuine sensory downtime are your medicine. Your Ojas depletion shows up as cognitive fragility and the particular hollowness of a life in transition. And if you're a constitutional mismatch, your Vata imbalance is systemic. You may be fundamentally a Vata dominant constitution living in a Pitta aggravating world. Everything in Ayurveda applies to you with urgency. Your restoration path is the most comprehensive and the most rewarding. The Energy Alchemy Quiz will help you see which pattern is most active for you right now. And your results will include specific Vata and Ojas restoration guidance tailored to your pattern. So this is the last week of our map phase of this 4-phase, 12-week series. For 6 weeks, we have been building the most complete picture I know of what is happening in a chronically exhausted woman's nervous system. From the physiology of polyvagal theory to the caretaker's body to the hormone nervous system loop, to medical astrology and your natal chart as a healing map, to the TCM wisdom of Shen and the heart-kidney axis, and now to the Ayurvedic framework that holds it all. You now have the map. And next week we begin phase 3, practice. Practical restoration tools, starting with breath work as medicine, where everything we've mapped becomes something you actually do, where the body begins to come home. I am genuinely excited to be making this journey with you. The work you are doing to understand your own system, to look clearly at what has depleted you, and to begin to imagine what restoration can actually feel like, this is profound work. And it matters. Before we really close, I want to invite you to take one very concrete step. If you haven't already taken the Energy Alchemy Quiz, this is the perfect moment. We've spent 6 weeks exploring the nervous system through 5 different lenses: the science, the caretaker's pattern, the hormone loop, medical astrology, TCM, and now Ayurveda. And all of that connects to your specific exhaustion pattern. The quiz will show you which of the 4 patterns is most dominant for you. how it intersects with your Ayurvedic constitution, and what your most direct path to restoration looks like. The link is in the description. It takes less than 3 minutes. And what it gives you is a personalized map for everything we're about to explore together in phase 3 practice. Vata, Pitta, and Kapha all connect to your exhaustion pattern. Find yours. I'll see you next week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Take care of yourself this week. Warmth, oil, rhythm, rest. You know what to do.